rest of the Bailey 7 up here because we need you to find the bottom of your lungs, because on 3, we're looking for a Tristan Bailey strong. So with everything you got, 1, 2, 3.
Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. It's so greatly appreciated, truly is. Before we get started, let me give you my usual disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only. Please do not take what I say as fact. Please always do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Next, if you have not liked, subscribed, or commented yet, please consider doing so. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. Okay, so a while ago, maybe like 2 years ago, 13-year-old Tristan Bailey from Florida went out with a boy that she was classmates with the night before Mother's Day, and we'll get into it. We're gonna go over like the basics because he has been sentenced. So, 13-year-old Tristan Bailey was born on January 18th, 2008 in Singapore to parents Forrest and Stacy Bailey. She was the youngest of 5 siblings: Brittany, Alexis, Tegan, and Sophia Bailey. Tristan was supposed to be born with Down syndrome, and she was supposed to be born with a hole in her heart in a foreign country, and being left with nothing but fear and the unknown for 40 weeks. I can't even imagine that. I was a nervous wreck when I was pregnant with both my children, and they didn't have anything like this. So I can't even imagine. But by some miracle, Tristan was born a perfectly healthy baby. Tristan Bailey shared the halls of Patriot Oaks Academy in St. John's, Florida, with 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. May 9th, 2021 was Mother's Day. Tristan's brother Tegan walks into his sister's room to wake her up, but when he walks into her bedroom, Tristan was nowhere to be found. He would testify in court that the night before, the family had gone out to dinner together with a few siblings missing, but the family had gone out to dinner with their niece. They had a wonderful time together. Then when they got home, he and Tristan decided to sit on the couch together and watch a movie. I mean, they're just such a nice family. Tegan says that he began to get tired, so he excused himself and he went to bed. He goes on to say that he just keeps replaying in his mind, what if I would have stayed on the couch that night and not went to bed? Would I have heard my baby sister sneaking out because the door and the couch were very close to each other? Would I have woken up and stopped her? And worst of all, would my baby sister still be alive if I hadn't gone up to bed that night?
Finally, Sophia, Tristan, and I started to watch TV. I began to fall asleep on the couch until I finally excused myself to go to bed. Every single day, I can't help but wonder what would have happened had I slept on that couch instead, or if I had stayed up later. Tristan was a 13-year-old. She had a personality brighter than fireworks, and she was being a teenager. But had I slept on that couch, that was within earshot of our front door, there's a possibility my little sister could still be alive today. I have lived with that question, that weight, and that guilt since I went to wake up Tristan on Mother's Day and found her room empty.
This is awful on so many levels. This is horrible, horrible. And no, it is absolutely not your fault. Absolutely not. The Bailey family grew up in what was known as a very safe, upper-class, tight-knit neighborhood. Almost immediately, the community stopped what they were doing and walked the streets looking for this baby girl on Mother's Day. 16 hours later, the body of Tristan Bailey would be found in a wooded area. She would be found laying in the woods on her right side. A neighbor that happened to be out jogging saw her and called police. It was 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, and she had been stabbed 114 times, and she was no longer alive. She was fully clothed, so the theory of SA was pretty quickly ruled out. CCTV footage caught Tristan Bailey at 1:15 a.m. on the morning of Mother's Day walking with classmate 14-year-old Aiden Fucci. She had snuck out of her house to meet up with him, which we've all had our fair share of doing. Lord knows that I have. About an hour later, security footage would show Aiden Fucci emerging from the wooded area alone and carrying his shoes in his hands. Then footage would show him entering his home. Police go over to the Fucci residence and place him in the back of the cop car to bring him down to the station for questioning. While in the back of the cop car, this little shit takes selfies of himself and posts a Snapchat to social media with the caption, "Hey guys, has anyone seen Tristan lately?"
Having fun in a cop car.
Like, you little shit. You little shit. Oh, this kid is awful. I know he's little. I know he's what, 15 now, 16. He was 14 at the time. He was a little shit. I'm sorry. He just is. When police searched Aiden's bedroom, they found clothes that belonged to him with Tristan's blood on them. The judge on the case would determine that there was enough evidence to keep Aiden Fucci right where he belonged, which was behind bars. But this case just gets crazier and crazier. And like I said, I'm only trying to give you the key points because I wanted to focus more on the sentencing of Aiden Fucci, because there is so much out there already about this case that I feel like it would just bore you if I went through everything. But on the other hand, there's so many like twists and turns and what the actual fuck that I feel like we have to at least cover some things. After searching the wooded area and the lakes in and around the wooded area where Tristan was found, police would find the weapon, which ended up being a folding pocket knife. Tristan was stabbed 114 times.
My name's Alexis Bailey. I'm Tristan's second oldest sister.
And just for the court's aware, if you would just tell the court the order of the sibling.
So my oldest sister is Brittany Bailey. Again, I'm Alexis Bailey. I'm the second oldest sister, followed by my brother Tegan Bailey, Sophia Bailey, and then Tristan was the youngest of the family.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
$114. Of course. This jar now holds 114 stones, one for each of the 114 wounds that my sister had to endure. It was 1 hour and 42 minutes between when my sister was last seen and when Aiden Fucci was next seen, running out of the woods holding his shoes because his feet hurt. It's funny that such a simple statement can bring such anger. Aiden Fucci could show compassion for his sore feet, yet had nothing to leave for my beautiful sister.
And that is a lot of stab wounds. And that is a lot of times to stop and say, what the hell am I doing? What is wrong with me? That's a lot of times to stop. Police would also say that they were sure that this was the weapon because the part of the knife that was broken off was found in Tristan's head. So does that mean the only reason that he stopped was because the knife broke? This is a child. This is a child. 49 of those wounds were defensive, meaning she fought for her life. This also meant that she felt at least 49 stab wounds. 6 of those wounds were fatal, and evidence showed that Aiden Fucci continued to Tristan even after she was gone. Witnesses came forward to say that Aiden had been bragging to his friends that he was going to kill someone because he wanted to know what it would feel like. He told them that he was going to take them in the woods, that he was going to watch the life drain from someone, and that it would be done within the next 30 days. It is also said that at this point, Tristan was not the person he told friends that he was going to kill. It seems as though like she was just the person that was randomly picked.
Tristan really had very little interaction with Aiden. They had one class together in school, but didn't interact a lot in that class. But she did know Trey, and Aiden was trying to find somebody that night. And what we know is that there were several people he tried to reach out to before, and then he ultimately asked Trey for her contact information, and that's how he got a hold of her.
Aiden Fucci's mother, Crystal Smith. She's a gem and a half, too. She would also end up getting arrested for tampering with evidence after video footage from the inside of the Fucci home shows that the mother was washing her son's jeans that contained Tristan's blood and DNA. Aiden Fucci, his mother, stepfather, brother, and sister had recently moved to a very upscale home months before the murder of Tristan Bailey took place. This move was so recent that the family had not even finished unpacking yet. The inside of the home was equipped with cameras that were recording the morning of May 9th, 2021. At 12:55 p.m. on May 9th, Aiden's mother, Crystal Smith, could be seen on the home cameras very frantic. The search for Tristan Bailey had begun at this point, but she hadn't been found yet. Mom is seen on the cameras walking up the stairs, past the playroom, and into what looks like the bathroom. She picks up some clothes and what looks like a pair of jeans that appear to be wet. A young boy that enters the video, but it's not Aiden. It's one of his siblings. Aiden is actually on his way to the police station at this point to be questioned about Tristan, since he was the last person that was seen with her. She shuts the light and walks down the steps with the jeans bundled up in her hand. She walks down the steps and into what looks like a garage. It appears that Crystal had friends visiting at this time. You see a second woman enter the frame, and then a little girl comes in. It looks like the woman begins to clean the floor right where Crystal Smith had just walked past. Mom comes back with the pants in her hand and the phone in her other hand. The friend enters the frame again, and this time she's holding the pants. Mom is sitting on the steps, talking to the friend. The friend, who looks a little upset at this point, walks by and points at the home's camera. A man emerges from the room that the jeans keep coming in and out of. Crystal appears again and is holding the jeans again. She goes back up the stairs with the jeans, past the playroom, and back to the bathroom, walks back and forth, and then heads back down the steps. The police would confiscate the jeans after they were washed, and by some miracle, really, Tristan's blood and DNA was still on the jeans. A conversation between Aiden and his parents while at the police station went as follows. After the discovery of the body, the boy's parents spoke with him in an interview room at the sheriff's station. Upon being told by his mother that Tristan was dead, he responded, "How is that my problem?" It's your problem now. She told him he was the last person to be seen with the girl. His parents questioned him about his actions the previous night and asked him several times about what DNA or physical evidence might be turned up. Both advised him to, quote, find his story and stick to it, end quote, the sheriff's documents say. It had been earlier reported that after he was taken for questioning by deputies, Aiden's mother had hand-washed a pair of her son's jeans. During their conversation, recorded in the interview room, he told her he had been wearing the jeans the night before. She asked him if there was anything on them and clarified by whispering, blood. She then suggested to him that he had been wearing khakis rather than jeans and added, right? And he agreed with her. So here's the thing. I am a mama bear to the core. If you hurt my children, I'm coming for you. And I'm going to keep coming for you. And I will strike first and I will ask questions later. That's me. I don't care who you are. If you come for my kids, I'm coming for you. I get that. I get the mama bear thing. I love a mama bear. I think all moms have the right to be mama bears and to protect their children. But there comes a point when you have to let them take responsibility for things. Because no, this is not some little stupid thing. Like, he didn't shoplift. He didn't, flush some He didn't steal a car. Like, a classmate. That is a huge, huge deal. And it is also our job as parents to, yes, to protect them, but also to make them take responsibility for their actions, because how else are you supposed to raise good people? I mean, I, I'm not, it's besides the point. At Aiden's court hearing, he is seen rocking back and forth, mumbling, looking around, and talking about demons taking over his soul. He looks very confused and distorted, and he's basically trying to plead insanity. This, in my opinion, in my very unprofessional opinion, how about that? This screams fake to me. It just screams fake to me. To me, it's like, okay, now, we can all see how really young and immature you are, that you actually believed that this was going to work. To even remotely believe that this would work for an insanity plea is nothing less than ridiculous to me. Insanity pleas are very, very difficult to get. Not to mention the Snapchat in the car. You weren't certifiably nuts then. Why are you certifiably nuts now? Newsflash, it didn't work. I don't believe it ever would have worked. I just don't. I will also tell you that I have heard multiple people, even professionals, say that being in a mental hospital when you are not actually clinically insane is probably worse than just being in jail. I cannot tell you this from experience, but I could surmise that this would be a pretty accurate statement. What I can tell you from somewhat of an experience, I had a friend that many, many years ago went to a mental hospital for, I think it was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something. I had gone there to visit her, and you go up, you get in the elevator, and I was with my sister, actually, and we got in the elevator together, and we went up to the floor, and then when you step out of the elevator, it closes and locks behind you, so you're locked on the floor. We went there, we saw her, and it was an experience. It was. When her father went to visit her, God love him, when her father went to visit her, he got off the elevator, the doors closed behind him, and a man came up to him and said that he worked on the floor, and he took him for a tour of the hospital floor, of the floor of the mental hospital, just to later find out that it was not a worker, it was a patient, which that's kind of where I'm going with this. The people that are actually there, they're not, you're not on the same level. They're here and you're here. They think completely different than you. You could never possibly relate to them daily, day to day, have conversations, really mostly anything. Again, from what I've seen, from what I've experienced very shortly, if you were just a regular, normal person. Okay, so there is a free Aiden Fucci fan page. There's actually free Aiden Fucci fan pages all over the internet while this is going on. I imagine that it's a bunch of young children that are being ignorant, really. But it's scary to think that so many young people idolize this kid. Along with this, they were saying the most awful things about poor Tristan Bailey.
News4Jax obtained new evidence, including roughly 20 emails and voicemails that were sent to the principal at Patriot Oaks Academy days after Bailey's death.
I just wanted to know if you have any information or if anyone has told you about some of the disturbing things students at your school have been posting about the recently murdered Tristan Bailey.
Leading up to the trial for Aiden and following the demons taking over his soul stunt.
In his first court appearance, he was tearful. In his second, he was stoic. Today, Aiden Fucci's behavior was unexpected.
Why am I here? I just want to talk to my mom and dad. What's going on? What's going on?
He rocked, fidgeted, and seemed to talk to himself and others.
I don't want you demons. I don't want you demons to take my soul. You demons want to take my soul away.
I certainly looked at this and said, whoa.
Jacksonville attorney Shannon Schott, who specializes in juvenile defense, said the orange jumpsuit Fucci wore says something about his mental health.
Wearing an orange jumpsuit is indicative of a mental health inmate. Either he's putting on a show or he's a child who has gone crazy because of the circumstances.
Social media was skeptical.
The level to which he's manifesting a mental illness does seem a little unusual, and I see how people could be skeptical, but it would be a shame if this process was not seen through.
It came out that he was in solitary confinement 24 hours a day for over 400 days. He was being denied any form of group recreation, either indoors or out. He was denied access to group education. He was not allowed to eat meals out of his cell, and he was not permitted to participate in religious services or jail programs. I mean, if the demons are taking over your soul, then you probably need to be alone with them until you can get the proper treatment. Just saying. If the demons are not taking over your soul, then you just learned the hard way that this is not a joke and it should not have been taken as one. The state had over 200 witnesses that are ready to testify against Aiden Fucci. Many of them were friends with Aiden who were prepared to say that this was 100% premeditated. That's a huge deal. Huge deal. Monday, February 6, 2023. Aiden Fucci was supposed to begin his trial, but in a shocking twist, Fucci decides to enter a plea of guilty, and he did not change it for a plea deal. In fact, there was never a plea deal on the table for Aiden Fucci. They tried to strike a deal with the state multiple times, but the state refused every single time, which means that they must have been so confident that they were going to win this case. And they were like, no deal. So it's probably safe to assume that the reason for changing his plea at the very last second was to hopefully get a lesser sentence because he saved the court's time and money. The sentencing phase for Fucci began on March 21st, 2023, and it was powerful and it was emotional for everyone, except for Aiden Fucci, who showed little to no emotion or remorse. A psychologist that took the stand said that for a child to talk about and gore as often as Aiden Fucci did is extremely unusual and very alarming. Aiden Fucci's girlfriend that he had been dating for multiple months told the psychologist that she, Fucci, and mutual friends of theirs were into gore and horror movies, describing themselves as having dark humor, which is fine. A lot of people do. I think I do sometimes. She says that Fucci talked about death a lot. She told several stories. She told a story about her sending him. So the girlfriend sent Aiden. The girlfriend sent Aiden a picture of herself and a male friend. And she said that Aiden was furious about the picture and told her that he was going to kill the boy. She says that once she asked Aiden to hang out with her and two of her guy friends, and Aiden told her that he was going to kill both of the friends because they were boys. Come on. She also says that, all right, this is bad. She also says that Aiden Fucci threatened to kill her. He would take out his knife and pretend to stab her with it. Even saying that once he came up behind her and he pretended to her throat. She does say that she wasn't scared of Fucci because she trusted him and she took it as somewhat of a joke, except for the fact that he was no longer allowed to sleep at her house because he would make comments to her about how easy it would be to kill her when she slept. But it got the darkest when he said to her, "What would you do if I really killed someone?" And then she said he followed up that statement with, "Expect me to do it before the end of the month." She says she doesn't remember exactly when this statement was made to her, but she believes that it was sometime in May of 2021, which was the same month that Tristan was. Yeah. He spoke to her about how he was going to do it, telling her that he was going to walk around at night looking for somebody else that was walking. He was going to drag them into the woods and begin to stab them. And then he was going to pretend that he didn't do it so that he could keep killing people. I'm guessing he forgot to take all the other things that, we could do these days into account. But, that's what happens when you're 14. She tells a story about how Fucci stole a kid's vape pen one night at a food truck. And when the kid wanted it back, Fucci beat him up. I mean, it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And again, obviously, his mother knew something was going on with her son because she washed the jeans. His best friend told the psychologist that Aiden said to him that it would be satisfying to slit someone's throat and watch the blood pour out. A search of Aiden Fucci's home would give police an even clearer picture into the mind of Aiden Fucci. So we're going to go over just some of the pictures. Okay, so this is the front of the home. This is the front entry of the home. Upstairs common area. Fucci's bedroom door, Fucci's bedroom, Fucci's desk, Fucci's bed, the other side of the room, inside of the closet with a dresser, inside of the drawers. Inside drawer 2 was an empty knife sheath. Nike sneakers with blood, and that were wet. A white t-shirt with blood, a close-up of that shirt, jeans in the laundry basket that were damp and had bloodstains on them, drawing that Fucci drew, a second drawing of Fucci's, and a third drawing of Fucci's. So there were quite a few letters that were written from the Fucci family. Aiden Fucci wrote a letter to the judge, which I don't personally think was very heartfelt, especially because he spelled Tristan's name wrong. But that's neither here nor there. Get the name right. Granted, she does have a difficult name to spell, but still. Aiden Fucci's father wrote a letter. Aiden Fucci's mother wrote a letter. And then Aiden Fucci's grandmother wrote letters. So let's go over the letters. Well, I guess we'll do Aiden first, right? Do Aiden first, get him over with. Dear Judge Smith, my name is Aiden Fucci. I am 16 years old. First off, I want to say that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused to the Bailey family. I'm sorry to the friends, brothers, sisters, mom, dad, and any other family relatives. I'm sorry that you didn't get to know her that long. You did not have any long relationships with Tristan, and for that, I'm sorry. For the community, I'm sorry I brought all this pain on everybody, and I'm sorry, and I know my apology will not fix anything or bring her back. But I hope it will help in some way. And for my dad, I'm sorry that he had a bad spot in his work because of me. I miss being outdoors with my dad and brothers. I miss the fun we had, like four-wheeling, paintballing, going on the long car trips. Dad, you made things fun, like the tarp to the four-wheeler, so we could slide on the tarp behind. Dad, you're special because you made fun out of nothing. Love you. I'm already annoyed. I didn't even read these yet. I'm actually reading them with you guys. This is my first time reading them. And I'm already annoyed because why are you making it about yourself? You would still be doing these things with your father if you didn't stab Tristan 114 times. So stop. Just stop it. To my mom, I want to send... Oh my God, please, he keeps spelling apology wrong. To my mom, I want to send my apologies as well. I'm sorry that she had to move her house because people were sending threats to the house and my family, and that my little brother and sister had to change schools because of me. Mom, now I miss your lemon pepper chicken. Mom, now I miss your lemon pepper chicken. I miss your hugs. I miss you. The longer I'm in here, the more I forget, the more memories I lose. I'll never forget you love me. Aiden Fucci. Sunday, March 12th, 2023. Again, if you didn't stab her 114 times, you wouldn't be writing this letter. It's your fault. There were so many things we want to say, and it's not that we don't have enough words, but we are struggling to find the right ones. There are no words to right this wrong. Those words don't exist in this situation. All we can do is express the absolute sorrow we feel within ourselves as parents and for everyone impacted by what occurred. No words can ever convey the utter heartbreak and pain we all have been enduring, each of us processing in our own ways. It's a different kind of pain to grieve the living while mourning the child of another. Pieces of ourselves remain broken as we struggle to move forward, trying to understand the circumstances of what happened. Aiden truly is a kind and caring boy who has the love and support of an entire community of family. His parents, grandparents, step-parents, brothers, sisters, cousins, teachers, coaches, and even his Boy Scout troop. He is our baby of the family. Only 14 at the time, not even old enough to drive. This tragedy blindsided all of us. We have so many positive and happy memories with Aiden, his two brothers and two sisters, upholding and creating traditions that we carried on as a family. After school and doctor's appointments, we would stop by Sweet Frog or Jeremiah's Italian Ice, and if you rode shotgun, you got to pick the playlist on the drive home. Aiden liked sitting up front of his and his taste in music was so diverse that it included anything from 90s hip hop to John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads, a song that was sure to get the whole truck howling out of tune. If it was our weekend, every first Saturday of the month, we would take the family to Home Depot for kids' workshops, and every second Saturday, we would all go to Cars and Coffee. Aiden enjoys building cars with us just as much as he loves baking with his cousins. Who cares? Who gives a shit? Nobody cares. Why are we talking about him again? Who cares? We remember waking up Christmas morning and deciding in that moment to drive north because Aiden had never seen snow. We ended up on Blue Ridge Mountain where Aiden made his first snow angel and had his first snowball fight. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Why are we at the sentencing for Aiden Fucci that stabbed Tristan Bailey 114 times for no reason and planned this out? Why are we talking about his trips to Home Depot, the songs that he likes, and snowball fights? Who cares? Why are we 3 paragraphs in and we have not spoken about Tristan Bailey yet? That's what I want to know. Nobody gives a shit about Aiden Fucci. I mean, maybe some people do. I don't. And I think most people don't. Like most normal teenagers, he also loves video games and his phone. He especially likes mobile games where we could all download the game and play together. But he also respected that dinner with family was sacred and would often remind his siblings, no phones at the table. Oh, isn't that sweet of him? Again, we had some of our best conversations over homemade chicken and dumplings, which is his favorite. Aiden has always been such a thoughtful boy. He has what most would consider traditional manners. Really? Really? He is the first to hold the door open for a stranger. He still says please and thank you, addresses people as ma'am or sir, and will bring you a blanket if you are cold. Really? Did he bring Tristan a blanket when he left her there with 114 stab wounds? You know how cold you get with 114 holes in your body? Aiden was never too old or too cool to build a gingerbread house with his siblings or let his cousin paint his fingernails. He never turned down the opportunity to play with Legos, color Easter eggs, or sculpt some clay. We still have the clay cowboy he gave us, which he made the same day his teacher commended him on improving his reading grade. We will never forget Aiden's adoration and patience for animals while homeschooling during the pandemic. You would often see him doing schoolwork with our family cat laying in his lap like a baby. A lot of times when our dogs were nowhere to be found, we would find them sleeping with Aiden wherever he was in the house. Whenever we were out fishing, Aiden would frequently pick up lizards, snakes, and even bunnies, using a gentle hand to show us and then release them back where he originally found them. He even showed one of us how to cradle baby chicks for the first time. This is crazy. This is actually batshit crazy. Batshit crazy. I cannot believe this. I definitely, hand to God, I had more hope in Dad because we all know Mom washed the clothes. I had so much more hope in Dad. Many of our other memories with Aiden involves his love of water, like when he boldly went boogie boarding at the jetties on a day when the surf was high. On another day, we took the entire family to Big Talbot, where he played The Ground is Lava. He was so silly, jumping from tree to tree and climbing vines. Of course, we had to end that perfect beach day with some public subs. Ham and black olives for Aiden, always. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. On our last family adventure, May 1st, 2021, we took the kids tubing and had lunch at Whitey's Fish Camp and then picked up some bait at their tackle shop. Aiden even learned how to drive the boat that day. He loves anything with an engine and spent a lot of time riding ATVs, muddling and racing go-karts. He loves paintballing, and we remember he would ask to borrow the green flight suit because it was lucky and made him feel invincible, like Superman. I have no words. I literally have no words for this. This is the Aiden we know. This is the boy we remember. The same boy who sat between us at the movie theater, slurping his white cherry icy, asking if we thought this was going to be a good movie. The same boy that would say, "I love you," at the most random time. A 14-year-old kid trying his best to navigate through his adolescent years, mostly fearless, sometimes apprehensive, but always our son. We respectfully request the court's compassion and mercy. Sincerely, Jason and Yasmin, February 22nd, 2023. I get that this is your child. I get that. But you went on for a page and a half. One sentence. That's why I thought it was one sentence. It is a different kind of pain to grieve the living while mourning the child of another. I don't actually believe you ever mourned this child. Ever. I truly don't believe you ever mourned her. Because in a page and a half, you told us all about Aiden, which, newsflash, nobody gives a shit. You never brought her up. You never addressed their family, nothing. Okay, I'm done with you, Jason. This is Crystal Smith to the judge, Honorable Judge Smith. We all know she's a gem and a half, so let's see what she has to say. Upon recommendation from my attorney, it is with deepest regret that I am not present to speak on behalf of my son, Aiden, today. The day my child is to be sentenced for the of another child. As a mother, the love you have for your child is difficult to articulate to others. True. Very true. Unless you're a mother, unless they're a mother themselves. Yes, 100%. That is on point. 100%. You will never understand. To be helpless to protect your child is a mother's worst living nightmare. Truth. To cope with such a loss is unimaginable. Yes, very true. All very true. I mean, okay. I agree for the devastating loss of Tristan. I grieve for the subsequent arrest of my son, and I grieve for the irreplaceable agony inflicted on the Bailey family, as well as all other friends and families affected. Most of all, however, I grieve for Stacy Bailey as a mother. You know what? I might have believed her. I might have compassion for her, except for the fact that, how dare you bring up Stacy Bailey and say you have compassion for Stacy Bailey as a mother when she was out looking for her daughter on Mother's Day. She was out looking for her daughter on Mother's Day, and you knew that Tristan was dead. Because that video where she's washing the jeans, that was hours before they found Tristan. So you knew what your son did, and you left that mother out there in agony, wondering where her baby was, while you were washing the blood out of your son's jeans so that you could try to get him off. Fuck you, bitch. No, don't. I'm sorry. You know, I can't speak for Stacey Bailey, but if I was Stacey Bailey, I literally don't mention me. You have no right to bring me up. I'm sorry. That's just how I feel. All right, let's keep going. Your Honor, nothing can measure the depth of despair caused by Aiden's crime and the inability to help your child when they need you most. From a mother pleading on behalf of the life of her adolescent son, please show my Aiden mercy. He is not beyond saving. Yes, he is. Thank you, respectfully, Crystal Smith. Why? Why should we show him mercy? He showed Tristan zero mercy. Zero. Crystal Smith, March 20th, 2023, writes to the Bailey family. Although we have never met, I am writing you to express my deepest condolences for the tragic loss of your daughter. I have thought of Tristan every day since her death. I know I will think of her every day for the rest of my life. I know my words cannot undo anything, and I know you will experience the grief you are suffering for the rest of your lives. As parents, we hold our newborns for the first time. We begin to understand unconditional love, and we begin to dream of our child's future. It's true. Very true. I understand that Aiden robbed you of that future. He absolutely did. He also robbed himself of his future. He chose to do that. As his mother, I cannot and have never stopped loving Aiden. Fine. You know what? That is 100% understandable. Hand to God, my children, there's nothing my children could do, nothing that would make me stop loving them. Nothing. Not a thing. But I understand that my love for him cannot change what has happened. Can't. I understand your family is forever scarred, but I also wanted you to know that we grieve with you. Really? Were you grieving when you were washing those jeans? My prayers go out to you and your family. Sincerely, Crystal Smith. I call bullshit. And I actually call even more bullshit because at this point, Crystal wasn't sentenced yet. Yeah. So if Crystal had already been sentenced, would we be talking about Tristan's favorite sub and his favorite movies and, you know, how he went snowboarding for the first fucking time? So Aiden's grandmother wrote 3 letters. March 22nd, 2023, about Aiden. I know there's some good in Aiden. I don't know what built up in him to make him want to do something so terrible. I think when we find that out, we will find the cause. He has always been a good, happy, polite, silly child growing up. Even at 14, had a childlike mind that I felt. I do believe he could be rehabilitated. With counseling and therapy, one day hope see the Aiden we all miss so much. Deborah, Aiden's grandmother. Okay. Bailey family. I wanted to tell Tristan's family to know that I and my family feel deep sadness for the loss of your beautiful child. And I know the heartache that you and your family must feel. You have been and will continually be in my prayers. She's like short but sweet. Honorable Judge, Your Honor, I know a punishment has to be paid for his actions. I love him as his mother and siblings too. He has a very large, loving Christian family, and we miss him dearly. Please don't take him out of our lives forever. I beg of you, Deborah. Okay. But what did he do? I mean, I understand where I understand what she's saying, but on the other hand, that's what he did to the Baileys. He took Tristan out of their lives forever, and they have no choice. And no matter what, you can still see him. You can still talk to him. He still has a life. She doesn't have that. The only thing that the Baileys have are ashes, right? Was she cremated? I believe Tristan was cremated. Yes. The only thing the Baileys have are ashes. That's it. That's all that they have left of Tristan. So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Okay. Next, let's talk about Tristan's oldest sister, Brittany Bailey. She, like the rest of her family, gave such a powerful victim impact statement. The day Tristan went missing, she was on the first day of her honeymoon. Imagine that. This girl is on the first day of her honeymoon, thousands of miles away, and she gets the news that her baby sister is missing. She talks about the blood-curdling screams that came out of her father when he realized Tristan was gone, and the screams that came out of her mother when she was told how Tristan passed. She explains how her marriage, mental health, and ability to be the best mother that she could to her 4-year-old daughter has crumbled since the death of her baby sister. Tristan's dad, Forrest Bailey, speaks about what an incredible child Tristan was and says that the world is in short supply of people like Tristan. He talks about how he used to have dreams about him and Stacy traveling after his retirement and checking in on his children and seeing where life had taken them. And he says now all of that's gone. The family would spend every Sunday together. They would call it Bailey Family Fun Day. This was shared with the entire family, and it would take place every single Sunday. Now, Bailey Family Fun Day is spent in family therapy sessions, and the Bailey family have racked up over $36,000 in therapist bills. And it's just awful. Aiden's grandmother, and the only family member we've seen so far, in my opinion, to have true remorse for what happened to Tristan. Deborah, she's the mother of Crystal Smith, Aiden's mother. She talks about how Aiden was a good child and that she doesn't know what happened to him. She says that Crystal is a good person, that's her daughter, and that she loves her. And I respect that. I do. I respect that. She also says that Aiden's father was a good man and he was always in Aiden's life. The night before Aiden killed Tristan, Saturday, May 8th, 2021, Aiden was supposed to spend the night at his aunt's house with his cousins. When his aunt came to pick up him and his siblings, Aiden wasn't home. When he finally got home, the aunt didn't have enough money to go back and pick him up. This is all according to Grandma. Which, that's... If it seems like I'm blaming the aunt, I'm absolutely not blaming the aunt. The aunt had nothing to do with it. She could have never known that. But it's just like, oh, God, what if? Grandma shows true and genuine remorse for what her grandson did. And it was sweet to watch because up until now, I really questioned if any of Aiden Fucci's family members had any actual remorse. When she was asked about the video in the back of the police car, she says that she thinks Aiden was high on something because that wasn't the grandson that she knew. And that could very well be true. I certainly don't know if it is, though. Her testimony was also the first time and only time during the entire trial that Aiden showed any sort of emotion. which is crazy because it was really emotional. I got emotional watching it. So the fact that he was the cause of it and he lived it and he didn't show any emotion that entire time is mind-boggling to me. Tristan's friend Ashley wrote a statement that was never read in court. This statement is so powerful and it's so mature that I actually feel the need to remind you guys that this was written by a 15-year-old child. Okay? So it's actually more of like a letter. It's a letter to the judge. So this letter goes as follows. Your Honor, not a single day goes by that I don't think of Tristan Bailey. In May of 2021, I thought that maybe as time goes on, the sadness that is tied to her memory would slowly leave. But I think that the opposite has happened. The first day of high school, which should have been exciting, was full of dread and guilt. It should have been Tristan's first day too. She should have been taking pictures with the same butterflies in her stomach as the rest of us. But she wasn't taking pictures, and she didn't get to feel the excitement of the new chapter in her life. Then it was the first varsity football game. And as I was in the stands, I could picture Tristan's contagious smile on the sideline with her cheer team. Just thinking about her laugh makes me giggle while I recall our old conversations and memories. But that giggle soon turns into endless tears rolling down my face as I come back to earth and remember how those fleeting moments were taken from me. Many days are like this, and to be honest, I haven't even truly comprehended the cruelty of what happened yet. All of a sudden, it was the second week of January. This is the week that Tristan and I would start counting down our birthdays, for hers was the 18th and mine was the 19th.
9 days till my birthday.
But this year wasn't like any other birthday. We should have been talking about getting our permits. Now I drive through the neighborhood decorated with aqua ribbons, and I think about how Tristan should be sharing this important milestone in her life with all of us. However, it is not only these big days that really remind me of her. It's the smaller days when I hear a new song that I think she would have loved, or when a new season of Grey's Anatomy comes out that I can't even bring myself to watch because she was the only person who would talk to me about it. It is every day at lunch when I look across the table and no longer see her. It's beach days when I look ahead at the endless sea of teal that meets the aqua sky. I see her when new trends come out that she would have totally done. I see her when I walk past the Vans store because she would always wear black leathery Vans. I'm going to see her next year when we start driving by ourselves, and the next year when we take the big exams that determine the rest of our lives. I'm going to see her in 8 years when I'm graduating college, thinking about how she will be 13 forever. And then I'm going to see her at my wedding, when my dad is walking me down the aisle, and I'm going to think about how Tristan will not get this moment. I'm going to see her in 25 years when I'm living in fear that my kids may be taken away from me, like she was taken away from her family. I'll be praying my kids share Tristan's way of making everyone feel special, and I will be praying that my kids will not be taking good friends for granted. I tell my friends and family that I love them every time a conversation ends, so I don't have to wonder if they know how much I really love them if something were to happen. The impact Tristan had on everyone she was around was unbeatable. Tristan and I weren't best friends, but she was one of the greatest friends I will ever have. Tristan made everyone feel comfortable and safe. She was one of the people that you could trust without even being close to her. A couple of months ago, I found a picture of Tristan and I running in our school booster-thon. I look at the picture and I see Tristan running ahead of me in this race. We were like 6. I probably thought it was unfair that Tristan was running ahead of me. But looking back at this picture, now age 15, the race and the word unfair have totally different meanings. It's unfair that Tristan finished the race of life before me. I wish I were still 6. running around our elementary school field before anything ever related to what happened to her could have crossed our minds. Tristan was a disco ball in the darkest rooms. She was reflecting light every way she turned. And though she isn't here with us anymore, she was one of the few bright lights in this dark world. And nothing will ever fill the infinity, the infinitely growing void. Signed, Tristan's friend. All right. Crazy, right? Child. I couldn't even believe it was a child. All right, let's talk about Tristan's mother, Stacey Bailey. To say this was difficult to listen to would be an absolute understatement. She talks about how Tristan was her best friend and the incredibly close bond that the two shared. They would travel together for cheer, which gave them a lot of one-on-one time together. Then she tells the most beautiful story about Tristan and her character.
Over the years, I was lucky enough to have a lot of one-on-one time with her. During these times, we would have conversations about friends, school, the good, the bad. I will never forget conversations about one boy in particular who was always getting in trouble in her class for years. I always ended the conversation with, "Just be kind to him. He probably needs friends. He probably doesn't have many." Little did I know that she did that over the years. At Tristan's celebration of life, a boy waited in a long line of people to speak with me. To be honest with you, he's the only thing I really remember from that day. Everything else are just brief flashes of memories. He waited for so long to speak with me, and the tears poured out of his face. His words still resonate with me to today. He said, "She was my best friend. She was my only friend." I spent more than a month trying to figure out who this boy was. It turned out to be the same boy that we had talked about so often. At that moment, I knew just how extra special my daughter was and how she truly learned a valuable lesson of just be kind. I will treasure these moments and lessons taught for the rest of my life. I, however, failed in one lesson. I did not know that I needed to teach Tristan to be afraid of the evil in her own school, to be cautious and fearful of the people you think are your friends. Aiden Fucci, you betrayed us all.
She tells the court about how Tristan's room is still the exact same way it was when she left it. Her luggage is still packed from her cheer trip, and her towel is still where she left it, never planning to ever wash any of her clothes because it would wash away the scent of Tristan.
My home, which was once where we all gathered in comfort, is now a place of hurt that Tristan is no longer there. The door to her room remains closed. It is exactly as she left it. Her bed is unmade. Her bath towel she used on May 8th is at the foot of her bed. The suitcase is still packed from the weekend before when we attended Summit with Infinity All-Star Cheer. I can't bear to change one thing, not even washing her clothes in the hamper, as it would wash away the scent of her.
Lastly, she tells the most heart-wrenching story about when they were looking for Tristan, and it's just awful to listen to.
At some point around 2 o'clock in the afternoon is when my mother saw a dragonfly. And she said to me, "Stacy, look, it's good luck. They're gonna find her." Unfortunately, I shoved my mother as hard as I could and started yelling at her. Because in that moment, I knew my child was not coming home. I tried desperately to apologize for pushing her, but it was such an uncontrollable moment. You see, when my father passed away, I was surrounded by dragonflies, and it has soon become a symbol of my guardian angel.
Before handing down the sentence to Aiden Fucci, the judge addresses the Bailey family.
The loss in which you have clearly suffered is unimaginable. Sometimes family members hope or expect that whatever the sentence is, that somehow or another that's going to heal or provide closure. And I just want to warn you that it's not. It's not how it works. No matter what sentence this court imposes today, it cannot heal you. I cannot bring her back. I cannot provide a closure to this. It may close a chapter of this, but it will not close this for you. You still have a lot of healing to do. And I certainly am not going to take the place of any of your counselors or therapists. But my advice to you is simply this. Understand that the healing process takes time, and you have to move through the stages, and you have to allow each other to move through the stages at your own pace. Comfort each other, but understand that some of you may reach different phases of this healing process sooner than others. Some of you testified to the fact that when you learned of her death, that part of you died as well. And what I would suggest is that you fill that void with her spirit and her life that certainly lives on through each and every one of you. Allow Bailey Sunday Fun Days to return to your home. Allow laughter to return to your home, because in depriving yourselves of that, frankly, you're continuing, it would continue to victimize Tristan, because that's not what she would want. She would want that happiness and the laughter to return, and the joking between her siblings. That's what she would truly want.
And lastly, he addresses Aiden Fucci for his horrific and heartless acts. Because of his age, he was not eligible for the death penalty. He speaks about the factors that need to be considered before being able to hand down a sentence. The court accepts that scientifically a person's brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. The fact that he was the sole person responsible for this, and this was not done because of peer pressure. And if he is eligible to be rehabilitated.
J, the possibility of rehabilitating the defendant. I would say that the defendant has shown some ability to modify his behavior that was shown in school through the Dean of Students. However, as Dr. Pritchard noted, this crime is extraordinary. His behavior was so unusual compared to individuals his age that there is a poor prognosis for rehabilitation.
The medical examiner would testify that Tristan was killed 7 times by the 6 fatal wounds that she suffered and by the 108 cumulative wounds that would have been lethal as well. The nature of this crime was up close and personal, and there was no motive other than just wanting to see what it would feel like. And I think that's what makes this so awful. Really awful. This was premeditated, and Aiden tried to cover up his crime as well. Because of these factors and the nature of the crime, the judge tells him that there is only one appropriate sentence for Aiden Fucci.
114 wounds, 49 defensive wounds, 35 wounds to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulder, and 6 fatal wounds. The 49 defensive wounds indicate that Tristan Bailey was conscious, that she was aware, and that she was doing everything she could to fend off this attack. Mr. Fucci, if you and your attorneys would please rise. Counsel, is there any legal reason why this court cannot impose sentence at this time? Nothing. Mr. Fucci, having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I adjudicate you guilty of the premeditated first-degree murder of Tristan Bailey. I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years. You will be taken back to the Duval County Jail and then transported into the Florida State Prison System. We are adjourned.
But if you could believe it, there's still more for me to tell you guys. Because not only is Aiden Fucci a danger to others outside of prison, but he's a danger to others inside of prison. One of several reports state that Aiden Fucci has been threatening officers, menacing and extorting other teen inmates at the Duval County Jail, and has been sprayed at least twice with a chemical restraint. One inmate stated Fucci said he was going to, quote, stab me up. He goes around calling inmates PUSSY because most of them are in there for a person with a gun, and says that he's a real one because he stabbed a bed face to face and takes their life. Report from January of 2022 states that Fucci was able to manipulate and extort inmates by threats and intimidation. The report states that Fucci had an abundance of commissary in his cell, but there were no receipts for the stuff to prove that he was the person that purchased it or that it rightfully belonged to him. So when officers entered Fucci's cell to retrieve the commissary items and give them back to the other inmates, he began to make threats against the officers' lives, threatening to their families, all while beating on his cell doors. This kid's such a little shit. It was at that point he was placed in the restraint chair for the safety of himself, the officers, the inmates, and the property of the jail. A report from Christmas Day 2021 states that Fucci and another inmate were involved in a physical altercation. Officers found Fucci hitting the inmate in the face. After officers were able to separate them, Fucci complied, but the other inmate kept going after him until officers had no choice but to deploy the taser to calm him down. An October 5th, 2022 report states that Fucci had excessive books and magazines in his cell. According to the report, when officers went to his cell for a shakedown, they discovered books and magazines in abundance. The issue comes from the fact that Fucci had been warned several times that these were considered contraband and they would be confiscated if he failed to mail them back home. When officers grabbed the items, Fucci stood up, made movements toward the items, and yelled at the officers, quote, "You aren't taking my fucking books. I'm calling my people," end quote. Who are your people? I really want to know who your people are. Are these people the same people that were willing to testify against you? Those people? Who are your people? After the officer drew his chemical spray, Fucci ran to the back of the cell, fell to the floor, and covered his hands and face. The officer sprayed Fucci in the face before handcuffing him. The report states that the sergeant deemed Fucci a threat to himself, property, and others. So officers deemed it best that he be placed in the restraint chair. He remained in the chair from 3:50 p.m. to 7:05 p.m. While being placed in the chair, Fucci became agitated and began calling them the N-word. Well, if he has a chance to be rehabilitated, he has not done it yet. All right, guys, if you are still here, thank you. I love you and appreciate you so, so much. This was a really long one. Yes, it was filmed over more than one day. I'm do the best I can. In the comments, leave me your opinions on the sentencing. Did he get what he deserved? Do you think this was fair, or do you think he should have gotten a lesser sentence? Leave me your opinions on his actions in prison. What do you think about the way that he has been acting? And leave me your opinion on if he is indeed able to be rehabilitated, because I really want to know what you guys have to say. And until next time, I love you guys so, so much, and stay safe out there.